Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. Let me start with the Saints schedule release. We know it got leaked yesterday, but when you look at it, what stands out?
One is that, the NFL, they still believe the Saints are contenders.
Yeah.
If you get 5 primetime games and 2 games, late in the afternoon that are centerpiece games. Listen, the NFL is all about ratings and storylines, and that because they feel that gets ratings for them, and they think the Saints are still relevant even without Drew Brees. They still think that they're a relevant football team and a double-digit winning team. Now, it may be just 10 wins, and the over and under is 9.5. So let's just say I got a few coins on that over at 9.5.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be close for me, but I do think this team will get to 10 wins.
Does the uncertainty about Aaron Rodgers for the opener weigh into that at all for you?
This team has to get off to a fast start. And Sean has always sort of emphasized that the fast starts are, first and foremost with him. And you think about it, the other games are manageable early. If you're talking about at Carolina, at New England, at Washington, you are not catching a gunslinger quarterback, or Giants. You're not catching a gunslinger quarterback in any of those games other than one, if he's there, and that's Aaron Rodgers. The negative is this football team still has a major hole at cornerback. No matter how you cut that, and I know, listen, team got to say what they got to say. Because if you say, man, we're still looking around and we need a veteran bad here, every veteran cornerback is going to say, okay, you offering $3 or $4 million? Man, I want 5 or 6. I got you by the teriyaki. There ain't no way to go. And this football team, I really believe, has its sights set on trying to do some long-term deals with Ryan Ramczyk and Marcus Williams to free up some money. Because what it does is it gives you money this year, it throws it into future years, but it would open you up some money to go out and get a veteran cornerback, and I will say plural, cornerbacks.
Okay.
You can't go into the season like this. So there's uncertainty on that part too. Man, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers going up against a secondary that, you quite possibly won't have Marshawn Lattimore for a game, possibly 2. You have no clue who the other starting corner is. You have a 33-year-old Patrick Robinson, P.J. Williams, who's really a better nickel safety than he is a corner, and a rookie in Paulson Adebo. That's what you got. So you can't enter the season like that. And so that would scare me week 1 if I had to face Rodgers. Again, there's some uncertainty. The other games, if you can get yourself a veteran corner, are all real manageable because, you're not playing a gunslinger in those first 4 or 5 games other than the man himself, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And when you look at it, the meat of this schedule is in the middle where you come off, a situation where you play at Seattle, at home against Tampa. Atlanta, no matter how bad they are, they always give that game's a tussle.
Yep.
That you understand that. And then you play at Tennessee. Now, what's the odds that Derrick Henry doesn't play this time? Okay? It's not who you play, but when you play them. And they were fortunate the last time that Henry was not in the lineup. They're a totally different football team with him or without him. So that's where it kind of cuts. And then you see later on in the season, the NFL is so smart about this. They end with Tampa Bay, Miami at home. And, Miami will be fighting for a playoff spot. and then Carolina and Atlanta. 3 of the last 4 games, NFC South teams. So, again, there's some relevance there. And then that tells you they believe in Sean Payton. That's what they've kind of hung this on, that they think Sean, with Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas and with Winston and that offensive line returning, and most of the defense, with the exception, at that cornerback spot, is going to be back. Got a retooled defensive line, but hey, you're going to be relevant again. You may not be the top wolf, in the NFC South, but you're going to play some meaningful games.
Mike, do you have a feeling on Aaron Rodgers if he starts the season in Green Bay?
I wish he'd sit out the first couple and then come back and play.
Me too.
At least the first game.
Me too.
This is going to come down to this. And, again, where's Mark Murphy in all this, the president of the Packers? He's in the Witness Protection Agency.
Right.
That's not begun. You couldn't find him with GPS. He does not want to get involved at all because it is a guy who's a former player. Okay, I get it. You management now. When you're the president of the Packers, if the owner was there, he would have run off Brian Gutekunst by now. He would have said, "I'll make my choice. I can find another Brian Gutekunst, but I can't find another Aaron Rodgers. You're out of here. You mishandled this. Sorry. You got to fall on the sword. And, hey, it's been nice, but you got to go." But, with no owner, now Mark Murphy has to step up, and he's done absolutely nothing. And that's really not a surprise from people that know him a little bit better than I do. I've just met him a couple times. I can't say I know him, but he has done virtually zilch in this matter, and which is of the highest importance. The Packers are a totally different football team with Aaron and without him, and they know they cannot win this year without Jordan Love. And I'm going to have to make that choice somewhere along the line to say the only championship I can win is the one I'm playing for in 2021. And that means Aaron Rodgers is on this football team. Yeah, I could deal him, but what am I going to get back to put me in that spot? I do know one thing, man, the Vikings, they got to be sitting on the edge, right now saying, man, trade him. This is our shot to win, here. If you deal him off.
Sure.
And, man, it's a totally different Packer football team with him or without him. A lot of people don't like to hear this, but there are people in life that are better than others and that are better than me, you, anybody else. And they don't want to hear it because, you grew up with, oh, you're the greatest, you terrific, you unbelievable, everything else. No, there comes a time when you find out there is a cut. And at quarterback, Aaron's the cut. And you got to make that decision and say, you know what? Hey, Brian, it's been nice. You've done your job here, but you've mishandled this with Aaron, and we got to move on. And we got to get him back because put a 5-12 team or a 6-11 team in Green Bay. Watch the reaction of those fans who are spoiled rotten. It's like Saints fans now. They don't remember. There's a generation of Saints fans who don't remember bad seasons. Don't remember them at all. All they know about is winning and double-digit winning seasons. And so it's the same way in Green Bay. Man, listen, Favre roll them, and then Aaron takes over and rolls this. They ain't going to be happy campers is all I can tell you. You're going to have to move out of town, And so what's the deal? You get rid of Brian now, you get rid of him later. You're not going to solve it between the GM and Aaron. There's a line in the sand. You can't solve it. Somebody's got to go.
All right, Mike, we talked schedule last segment. You alluded to the fact the Saints still have obviously a very noticeable hole at cornerback, but there are others on the defensive side of the ball as well. So since we last spoke, Mike, Casey Hayward is a free agent cornerback that came off the board. Who's out there, Mike? I mean, how do they solve this problem?
Got to get a couple. And Richard Sherman has been open about how much he would like to be here if the price is right, so to speak. And if you listen to Sean Payton, he has spoken in the highest terms of Richard Sherman as a player. I think it would be a great fit. If I'm Richard, if I haven't signed now, I'll wait a little bit. Richard's got his money, so to speak, and he can sort of wait this out. And I've been around agents now for over 30 years, too. A lot of them have told me, if it's gotten this late in the business, would they suggest to their clients to do, and not all of them want to do this, is wait it out until training camp. It sounds morbid, but it's accurate. There's going to be an injury to somewhere, someplace, or something's going to happen in the off season to rearrange somebody's roster at a position, and you may be in that spot to get more money. So are you patient? Some guys aren't. They just want to be in camp, in time, ready to go, ready to compete, get in the system. Some guys aren't. Some guys are willing to wait it out. It's an unusual year because everybody's sort of cash strapped. Most teams are this year. And you're going to see a lot of one-year deals. Guys sign for 1 year, throw themselves back on the free agent market in a year from now. And it's rent a player. It's the NFL version of it. And you're going to see it more this year than probably any other year because of the salary cap crunch. Now, there's going to be some relief because that new TV contract kicks in, and you're going to have some money flowing in pretty good over the next couple of years. But you got to get through this year, and that's the crux of it right now. That I think a guy like Sherman would have been signed long ago. It's just at this point, are you better off waiting? And until maybe somebody does a contract extension with a team. And that money frees up and you can sign that 1 year deal. The Saints have done a lot of cutting and fitting and everything else. And I think the next value now is to try to get Ramczyk and Williams to long-term deals where you can manipulate money for 2021 and free up some of that to go out and get you a couple of veteran corners at this stage. But you just don't have it right now to go out and get that guy. Mm-hmm. And there will be others cut loose. Other teams will cut loose a player like what the Cardinals are doing with Jordan Hicks because of a draft choice. They're going to make that move. And somebody you didn't think would be available or through a trade is going to get shaken loose because
Mike, I want to ask you about Jordan Hicks. We're going to come back to that. You have mentioned a couple of cornerbacks several times. I think the prevailing thought is, okay, we got to replace Janoris Jenkins. Is there more to the Lattimore story where you're thinking you might need two starting cornerbacks, or is it a depth question there?
It's a depth question because, okay, even if you saw, let's say in a perfect world, you sign Richard Sherman tomorrow.
Okay.
And you have Lattimore, and he gets suspended for 2 games. You have P-Rob. You got Paulson and Debo. What happens if P-Rob gets hurt? Explain to me your depth then. You got none. Injuries are going to happen, and I hate to say it. They're going to happen at the weakest spot. Is this something, when you talk to coaches long enough, they tell you, it's not where I have some depth. It's where I don't. And that's what you're going to get hit. And today, you're playing 4 corners. You play a nickel, 75+% of the time. You're playing dime, high 60s, if not 70%. That's 4 corners. What happens if you get a corner hurt? Who are you going to play? So it's plural. you're going to have to go out and get a couple of veteran corners at this stage. But right now, financially, you can say, well, manipulate the books like we did in the spring. Okay, you did that already.
Right.
Okay, that's just so much money you can spend on the credit card.
Is a trade a possibility, Mike?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that, and I think partially of that is like with the Hicks deal, that if you can deal him off and get a 7th round pick in return or a late round pick in return, I think that's certainly a possibility. But every team feels the same way about cornerbacks. They feel like defensive ends. I don't have enough.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I got 5, I don't have enough. What happens if I have an injury? It is becoming a real difficult spot because so many people are using that 4 to 5 and keeping them active on game day. So, the veteran corner would be a guy that's overpriced, and you're trying to get rid of that salary.
Any names that come to mind?
Not right off the top of my head, no. But
that's the tricky part, right?
That's the tricky part because, again, you can say, well, let's go out and get so-and-so. Oh, yeah? Man, why should I help you? That's what other teams feel. Why should I help you? I don't care about your problems. I got my own to deal with. It's that, what it is, man, years ago, Travis Tritt sang it. Here's a quarter. Call somebody who cares.
What about Jordan Hicks, Mike? I did want to ask, since you brought him up, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. The Saints need help at linebacker. Is that a guy who maybe they should kick the tires?
He's been a solid player in this league. He really has. Smart player, very instinctive. Started out with the Eagles and then has been with the Arizona for a while. I've always felt that if Kwon's healthy, the Saints are bringing him back.
Okay.
It will be a 1-year deal, an incentive-based deal for Kwon. So, and look at the workouts that he's going through. He's making pretty good progress with that Achilles, which at one time I was talking to a couple of orthopedic surgeons involved with Ortho LA here in Thibodeau, and they were like, listen, that was it. You had that. You're not playing again. Your NFL career is over. It's not the case today. Man, it really has been great. We've seen Terrell Suggs come back in a 6-month time frame from that. Now, I'm not saying, because you got more than 6 months with the injury to Kwon, but, man, he seems to be moving around really well.
Shoot, Mike, we saw Sheldon Rankins, a 315-pound man, come back from that injury.
And so it's not a career killer anymore. You can come back from it, and it's, just sort of getting yourself, a bigger man, it's a difference because of the torque. The torque you put on that ankle and Achilles and everything else, but it's no longer the injury that ends a career. So my own feeling is they would love to bring Kwon back. They know what he can do. The defense really ran well when he was in that lineup, him and DeMario. You got question marks. I can understand you kick the tires on Hicks. Okay, what have you got at linebacker other than DeMario? Give me, Zach Bond's resume, okay, in the NFL. It's going to be real short.
Yeah.
You can say, well, we drafted Pete Werner. Okay, Pete's resume is even shorter in the NFL than Bond's. Not much shorter, but it's shorter. Chase Hansen, he's a really good athlete. He looks great in practice. He can't stay healthy. He's been a guy that's had one nick after another. Ellis, coming off the knee injury. You really don't have much there. Also, now you in a lot of 2 linebacker sets today. You rarely in a base formation where you play 3. You most of the time are playing 2, and so that position you can kind of work around a little bit better than you can at corner. Because listen, they string it out 4 wides. What are you going to do? You got to match up some kind of way.
Yeah.
So Hicks is a solid player. I think he certainly would be worth a late round pick if you had question marks about Kwon coming back from the injury. But from what I've seen and from what I gather, I think they would love to have him back. And, I don't need him in August. Man, practice is for the unskilled. Let them young puppies play. If they're going to play preseason games, let them guys get experience. Kwon doesn't need no preseason. He's played and all that. Practice isn't going to get him better. It's going to get the young guys better. And so it's interesting. But, that's part of what we talked about. A guy like Hicks, you drafted, Zaven Collins to take his place. And he wants to go somewhere where he can play and start. You didn't draft Zaven to watch. He's playing right off the bat.
Yeah.
He's an interesting player, solid guy, and real sharp, really smart football player. So he would be a possibility if you can't work out things with Kwon. Now behind the scenes, have they said, hey, listen, this is what we can do. Get yourself in shape. Come back, and we'll bring you back. 1-year deal, that sort of thing. I don't know that. I would assume, though, that they've had that conversation.
In the last hour, I mentioned that TJ Finley did an interview with Auburn Undercover and apparently said point blank that the coaches there, Brian Harsin, they're calling him every single day, and they're not talking to him about coming to be a backup. Do you have anything there with Finley and what might be next, what you might be hearing ear to ground?
Okay, Matt, I hate to break you this news, but coaches lie. Okay, are they really saying that at this stage they're going to put Bo Nix on the sidelines?
You had me going, man. I thought you had some news.
Man, listen, I got them in my
bro.
I got them in my family. I know how they are. No, listen, to land a guy, they're going to say what they have to say. And listen, I get it. I understand it. But in reality, just looking at that, with Bo and what he's done there at Auburn, is he the issue?
I don't know, Mike. I mean, I guess for me, I just thought we hear so much about like good Bo Nix and bad Bo Nix, and also it's a new coaching staff. So could they be looking for a different style of quarterback? I mean, it's undeniable that Bo Nix and TJ Finley are, from a physicality and skill set, they are total or polar opposites.
Different type guys. And so listen, but it's a nice sell job of what Auburn's doing. I've heard it too, and I got called by somebody working one of those internet sites for Auburn and asking me about it, and I told him the same thing. I do know coaches sometimes don't tell you the truth. So it's interesting because it looks as though even if he went there, he would be the guy once Nix leaves. Mm-hmm. But he's still now. Here's the kind of curve to this. The SEC, now the NCAA is saying, hey, listen, we'll give you that one-time transfer, no sit-out. But hasn't the SEC coaches balked at that and said, wait a minute, we have a rule here in the SEC that says you can't transfer in the conference. You can't transfer, say, from Auburn to Alabama or LSU to Ole Miss.
Right.
And isn't that kind of a split decision where a lot of the coaches are saying, listen, I don't care for it. Now, if I don't have anything, man, I'm all for it. But if I got something, why would I vote for that?
Mike, so they're supposed to vote in June, right? I mean, the general feeling on that is that rule's going to go away June 1.
Okay, my thing is, if it was to go away, why are they waiting so long with this? Because I've heard Sankey talk and him make the comment, it's a split decision.
Yeah. My
thing about it is, where are you in this? Okay, are you like Mark Murphy? And, you want to sit this one out? Listen, right? I'm just telling you, once that genie's out of the bottle, you're not going to be able to cork it back.
The one thing I've heard, Mike, is that the SEC is the only Power 5 league with that rule, and it would hurt them in recruiting.
Yeah.
And I guess there's some plausibility there. What do you think?
I think it gets passed because I think the commissioner gets involved here. And I think he's looking at the big picture of it that says, listen, we're the only conference like this. We got to pass it. And there is some bad in it, but there's also some good in it. But, man, it's been a fight. And remember, a few years back, there was an Alabama defensive back that wanted to go to Georgia.
Yep.
And, man, who kicked the hardest? Nick Saban.
Yep.
Man, he was like that donkey I got in that field right next to me. He wasn't happy about that. And he had a harder kick than that donkey does. That's all I can tell you. But he ended up, he went to Georgia. And, he went to the NCAA, and they let him go.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, and he just lands one of the top linebackers in the country from Tennessee.
Are you right?
So now that affects him. If he says no, then that young man can't play this year. And so now you got a lot of – it's a taffy pull. But I agree with you, Matt. I think in the end they will vote this in, and I think with a shove from the commissioner, because I think that there are some coaches who are the haves in this league that are saying, wait. We recruit these guys, and then they take off, and we're going to have to play them the same year? No, that ain't happening. But I think there are enough to make this really close. And Sankey say, hey, listen, we the only league like this. Let's pass it. Let's get it through and finish with it. And you just have to deal with it, like with everything else. And, the bigger picture for me is if you lose a guy like TJ, I think you should get that scholarship back.
I agree.
It's almost asinine that is still not rectified by the NCAA. That you got the numbers, and if you under that number and you lose someone, that you can go and get another player. It makes no sense to me, none, for that not to be rectified. But it's going to be interesting that they're still tapped the brake, and you're talking about we making a decision in June. Now, when people ask you about, well, what about where's TJ going to go? Where's Arik Gilbert going to go? Aren't those guys that are going to wait this out and see exactly what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because if I say, okay, I want to go to Auburn, and that rule hits in place, I got to sit out a year. If that's the case, for TJ, you got a lot of other options. Arik Gilbert's got a lot of other options. And that's why some of these players like that, I think, have delayed a decision on where they want to go, waiting for the SEC to say, okay, we're going to amend that rule.
Yeah.
But I agree with you 100%. I do think that it gets, the eraser gets to it and is put in. But, boys, that genie in the bottle is going to happen, and you are going to hear some coaches kick about it.
Yeah.
And I know one of them. He's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He is going to kick big time, even though he's going to benefit.
You're right.
For that Tennessee linebacker, he is going to kick about it. And I think the guy in Baton Rouge ain't too crazy about it either.
Well, the other question, and I want to make sure we leave time to get to listener questions, but I did want to also ask, because you're right, Mike. I mean, LSU has one spot left. So
only one.
So what do they do? I mean, do they –
I'll wait it out. I've got to at this stage. Yes, I would love to get another defensive back. But, man, something could happen at quarterback. And look what I'm caught with at this stage. No, I got to wait it out and see what happens. And so I think they, like a lot of other schools who are limited on the numbers and maybe have a scholarship left, you would love to get another safety to come in to the lineup. Yeah. And that one that just decides to throw himself in the transfer portal from Baton Rouge. Yeah, you'd love to get that. But, what happens if you lose a quarterback to an injury or he decides to leave? Where does that leave you then?
Yeah, exactly where you were in 2018.
Exactly. You stuck. And that's with a capital S. stuck. And so I get what Ed is trying to say here, that, we got to be diligent on where we go with that scholarship. Now, hopefully that rule, the NCAA can give them some leeway and you can get those scholarships back, or even limited, but at least get some of that back when you lose a player like that. Tulane just lost, a really good nose guard for them, a young man from Mississippi who played as a freshman, really good football player. And he's thrown himself in a transfer portal. Man, you late in the game here in May, where are you going to go find a guy that's going to take his place? Oh, well, we got some freshmen. Oh, yeah, that guy's he can take his place. Come on, that's not reality. So, Matt, we walking down that journey now. The genie is pretty near uncorked from the bottle.
Let's start with this one from Jody, who says, ask Mike, what was your reaction to the Packers signing Blake Bortles?
No reaction. I know Jordan Love can't play this year, and they would need a veteran backup. Come on, convince me that Blake Bortles is going to play for you. And listen, they telegraphed this even before the incident with Rodgers wanting out. That they said, listen, after the draft, we're going to sign a veteran quarterback. So, man, if you got to play big Blake Bortles for 16 games, give me the under. Give me the under on that Packer stuff. That's all I can tell you.
Paul says, ask Mike, where is Arch Manning going to play his college football? We might get that a couple thousand more times between now and 2023, Mike.
I'd be shocked if he went. I wouldn't be surprised. I'd be shocked if he went to LSU. I think it's if I gave a top four, it would be Ole Miss, Clemson, Texas, Georgia.
Okay.
And I think Notre Dame has really put a big full court press on Little Arch recently, but I think those four would be the top four to watch.
Cliff Nelson asked Mike, how short is the leash on Jameis Winston?
No, he's Sean's guy. For 2021 it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Sean's going to go with him. But you'll see a different offense this year. I think that's the one thing. Get used to that Sean is going to run a different offense than what he ran in the past, because he understands Jameis's talents are different from Drew. And he's going to mold that offense into what Jameis can do best. He'll give Jameis every opportunity, but believe me, he's got long time before he'd be willing to pull it on him.
Donald has asked Mike, thoughts on Derek Stingley changing his number?
And he's a stud, all I can tell you. He won't stay long to hear his name called in April of 2022 or maybe May of 2022. Who knows where the draft is. But great player.
Dwayne says, ask Mike about this weekend Saints rookie mini camp. Saints should be desperate for a good veteran quarterback. Where can they get the money under the cap?
Veteran cornerback or quarter?
Cornerback.
Well, you're not going to see that in this camp. Man, them guys ain't going to this. You got a couple guys that, you signed as free agents, and Trill Williams and Bryce Thompson from Tennessee that have opportunities. But, you're not looking for young guys. You're looking for an older cornerback. Bottom line, I'm looking for somebody with experience. I got a young cornerback that I hope that can give me some playing time in Paulson Adebo, but I got to find me a veteran. And it won't be through no rookie camp.
Reed Wilson asked Mike, was Zach Bond a wasted pick?
Well, I can't answer that because I haven't seen enough of him to say one way or another. Now, that was a con job put, so to speak. Some people wanted to write and tell you about that Zach Bond's great in coverage. What? You watch Zach Bond at Wisconsin. He was an up-the-field pass rush guy. His coverage was in front of him. So all this is sort of new to Zach. He had no preseason games, no rookie kind of training camp situation. So he's got a little experience now, but I can't say one way or another with Zach. I think he's got the advantage because he's been here for a year, But all I know is if he turns around, Pete Werner's right there, and if he had gum in his mouth, he could tell you what flavor it was.
Well,
I mean, I think it's going to be that close between those two guys. But then the stuff about Zach Bond, a cover guy, he 62% in this. Come on, that was the biggest bunch of harsh maluka that you could put out there.
Mike, we got about 20 seconds. Kevin asked thoughts on Josh Hill retiring shortly after signing with Detroit.
Yeah, I knew Josh had some injury issues, and so it didn't come as a surprise to me. Man, solid guy, really great guy off the field. He did his job, blocker, special teams.
He is Mike Detillier, SaintsReport.com, MikeDetillier.com, Saints News Network over at SI.com. He's on Twitter at Mike Detillier and with us every Thursday. Mike D, you the man. We appreciate you for making it happen as always. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.